Greetings, friends. There is never a coincidence when it comes to the weekly Torah portion. Each week, it is decreed in heaven that words of Torah come to give us insight into whatever is going on at that exact moment in our lives or in the life of the entire world. Last week was the second week in which Israel was subjected to a rain of rockets and rioting from our enemies, all emanating from a place called Gaza. What is this Gaza? Amazingly, last Shabbos, we read a Haftarah from Sefer Shoftim, the book of Judges, which discusses this exact situation, the threat of our enemies emanating from Gaza. But this story in Haftarah took place 3,000 years ago. The judge named Shimshon, Samson, was from the tribe of Dan. In the words of Rabbi David Feinstein Zatzal, quote, the portion of Dan bordered on the Philistine territory, and his hometown, that is the hometown of Shimshon, of Sara'ah, was near the Philistine cities of Gas and Aza. Aza is Gaza. The Torah is all about today. Our ancestors dealt with the evil in Gaza, and we are still dealing with the evil in Gaza. There's something about the nature of certain places. Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, is the location of the greatest Kedusha, sanctity in the world. Places like Sodom are associated with evil to such an extent that they destroy themselves. Gaza is another place from which evil has emanated for thousands of years. The angel who announced the birth of Shimshon told his mother that her son would begin to save Israel from the hands of the Philistines. The passage continues. The spirit of Hashem began to resound in the camp of Dan with the birth of Shimshon. Rabbi Feinstein comments, quote, the task of battling the Philistines began with Shimshon, but it did not end with him. It was continued by the judges who succeeded him and by the prophet Samuel, Shmuel. The written Torah describes the creation of the world until the end of prophecy, but it is not over. Our prophets anticipate a time when there will be a third Beis HaMikdash, a third temple, and Mashiach ben David will usher in the era of universal peace and redemption from evil. It seems that the story of Gaza, that bastion of evil, will not be complete until our own days, when the evil will finally be eradicated. And I'm quoting from the prophet Amos, thus said Hashem, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, I, God, have looked away, but for 4 I will not pardon them. According to Abarbanel and Malbim, as quoted in the Art Scroll commentary, the 4th transgression of Gaza was their persecution of the Philistines, was their persecution of the Jews. Gaza was not conquered during the lifetime of Yoshua. In light of current events, this seems to hint that the final chapters are even now being written at the end of history. During Shavuos, we read the amazing saga contained in Megillus Rus, which describes the birth of Oved, father of David, grandfather of David, King David. David's cousin was the giant Goliath, grandson of Rus's sister, Orpah. Please listen to the words of Goliath. Quote, "I am the Philistine." Goliath challenged all of Israel and blasphemed the name of Hashem. Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, were terrified. Only David had the courage to face him. David stood there in his shepherd's garb and said to Goliath, quote, "You come to me with a sword, a spear, and a javelin, but I come to you with the name of Hashem, Master of Legions, the God of the battalions of Israel that you have ridiculed." David stretched his hand into his sack. He took a stone from there and slung it and struck the Philistine in the forehead. The stone penetrated his forehead and he fell upon his face, upon the ground. And there was no sword in David's hand. Almost every day in Yerushalayim, I go out to gaze at the kever, the burial place of Shmuel Hanavi, the great prophet who anointed David. Hashem said to Shmuel, "Arise, anoint him, for this is he, the king of Israel." Shmuel took the horn of oil and anointed David from among his brothers. And the spirit of Hashem passed over David from that day on. My friends, it is all going to happen again. The prophet will come, and soon, Be'ezus Hashem, the son, the descendant of David, will be anointed as Melech Yisrael, Mashiach ben David. The threat from Gaza will end forever with the coming of Mashiach. May we greet him soon in our days. Good Shabbos.